Hi everybody, I'm Daniel Bédard and you're watching Drumshare News with Jarah Jane.
Hey there guys, welcome to Drumshare News, the place where I bring you the news that you might have missed out on. We have someone special here today, a drummer, educator, and artist. Daniel Bédard. We're saying Bédard, Daniel Bédard. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Really happy that you are here. I was anxious for this interview. I want to know about you, and I want to know a little bit about your background, how you started drumming. Were you a young child?
Well, I started playing around like 13 years old. I think the first drummer that got me really like excited about drumming was Dave Grohl with Nirvana and Nevermind back then. You know?
Yes.
And I used to air drum to Nevermind in some recordings back then. You know? So from there, that's where I started. You know? And then I had like a bunch of friends who were playing like guitars and bass and stuff, and we got pretty much into punk rock music. So then I moved on to that, maybe like around like 14, 15. And at some point, I discovered also like drummers like John Bonham and Neil Peart, and I really like got excited by that drumming, you know, because it was a little bit more like complex and involved than the punk rock drumming that I used to play before that. You know? Okay. So from there, so then I got into like I guess I could say like a prog like period where I got into like I was saying like Rush and these bands.
Big difference from your Nirvana era.
Yeah, well, I guess it might be some kind of a logical thing in the sense that maybe Nirvana was a little bit more to me like accessible, like maybe like easier to get, you know? Yeah. So like Rush then led to like King Crimson and like bands like Yes. I really got into like Bill Bruford at some point. And then I just got into school. You know? My teacher back then was actually studying at the Cégep de Drummondville.
Okay, so you were actually at a school. You didn't have like a private teacher at home.
Yeah, well, I had the private teacher. Yeah, I forgot to mention it. I did study for a while with a guy named Jean-Philippe Fortier back in my hometown of Lac-Mégantic. And he was actually studying drums at Cégep de Drummondville, so I pretty much followed his steps. You know, so I got in. I think in '99, and then at that point I started like getting interested in like jazz drumming. I was a little bit curious about that because I used to read like magazines a lot, you know, like Modern Drummer, for instance, and they used to mention like jazz drummers quite often, saying, "Oh, these guys are amazing. You gotta watch that, or you gotta listen to these guys." You know? So I got curious, you know. And so I got myself a few records. I think I bought like a Miles Davis record and this and a few other ones, which I couldn't really get at first. You know, I was listening to this and I was like, well, I've been told that this is amazing, so let's just listen to it. You know, I remember listening to Tony Williams and not really getting it at first. You know?
And when you say you weren't getting it, what do you mean in the sense of not getting it, not feeling it? Not...
Yeah, well, I didn't understand what they were doing. I was coming from like a prog rock. Punk, whatever you want to call it, background. So jazz music at first wasn't. I didn't get what they were doing. I was hearing like the right cymbal playing. I was like, okay, what's the big deal of that? You know, I couldn't get it. Really like
it's different laws almost kind of.
Yeah, well, it's much more based on the improvisation, whereas like the prog music is really like structured and
set.
Written. You know, set music. Yeah. So
a little freer. You're a little
much freer.
On
much freer. And at first that was confusing to me.
It's like, what? I can do what I want.
Yeah, I didn't know the rules much, you know. So I had never played like jazz music much at that point, you know. But then I discovered a few jazz bands that were a little bit more heavier, like the Mahavishnu Orchestra and like Weather Report, and some of those bands which are known as like fusion music, you know, where like they were actually like blending like rock, like energy with like jazz improvisations. You know? So these were the first band that got me interested in jazz music, and from there, well, I got in school, and then started studying like pretty much like jazz drums and like any drum also, and not only jazz but that's pretty much how it went for me. So
we're saying you had an education of an approx time. How long did you? I mean, I know drumming is like it's a constant education, but as a student in class,
Well, I started in school in '99, and I was 18, and I finished my studies in school in 2006, and I was at that point 25.
It's a little under 10 years.
Yeah, but that was the time I spent in school, you know. So to get my diplomas,
yeah.
Because I got like my cégep degree and then my bachelor studies. At the University of Montreal, where I studied with Paul Brochu. Actually, Paul Brochu has been my teacher for quite some time. I studied with him for about like 4 years and a half.
Okay.
And so that's pretty much what I did. As far as like official studies, because I kept obviously studying afterwards, and I still do nowadays. You know. So.
Okay, yeah, for sure. And it's an ongoing, of course. Music is always ongoing in learning. You did study. I think you mentioned to me at one point that you studied with someone in New York.
Yeah, well, in 2013 I got a grant to go study in Manhattan. Actually, I studied with John Riley for about like 8 months at the Manhattan School of Music, which was really cool. It was an amazing experience. You know, it was really cool for me to actually get to meet John. John is an amazing drummer, an amazing teacher too. You know, and
he was the teacher that he helped you with your playing. Heel Down. Was that the story you told me?
I might have told you that. Yeah, well, actually, John pretty much always played heel down, like on the bass drum, and that's something that I didn't do that much. I kind of did it a bit, but didn't do as much back then. And John helped me a bit in like developing that. And, well, actually, pretty much said, "Well, just keep practicing."
Yes, you gotta just keep doing it.
Yeah. Well, I remember at some point we sat down in the lesson. He looked at my foot. I was playing some stuff. He was like, I was like, "Is there something wrong with my foot?" And he was like, "No, you just need.
You got five toes.
Yeah, everything's fine. Just keep playing." And nowadays it's feeling pretty much like better, you know. So I just kept working on that at that moment. But actually, with John, we studied a lot of jazz-oriented stuff. Like we did like a lot of transcriptions of great jazz drummers. And it was just amazing to be in New York and then to go see like shows pretty much every night I was there.
So you were eight months, you're saying? Yeah,
well, actually it was like trips in and out because at that point I was a father and I couldn't like stay there. You know?
Okay.
I got my son was born in 2013, so obviously I couldn't like stay there and tell my wife, well.
Yeah, take care of the baby.
I'm gonna go play drums.
Yeah.
So it was like in and out trips that I did for about maybe 10 months. You know, so like from 2013 to like August of 2014. You know?
Okay.
Yeah.
That was a nice experience for you.
It was amazing. Sure. I'd like to do it again eventually. Yeah.
Okay. I have a question here. Now that you are a teacher.
Yeah.
Now that you are a teacher, what drove you to educate others? You've been learning and taking in so much information from everyone else.
Yeah, well,
what pushed you to?
Well, actually, it's kind of funny because when I was young, I was kind of good in school. You know, as a teenager and even as a young kid, I was always. Well, school was fairly easy for me, you know? So at some point I was like, well, what do I want to do in life? You know? I was like, well, I guess I'm going to be a teacher and just stay in school, you know? And that's what I do, and that's what it's easy for me. You know?
Okay, so you said, I guess I'm going to be a teacher. Did you know at that point that you said, I guess I'm going to be a drum teacher, or you just want to teach anything? You were just, you knew you were an educator.
Well, I kind of felt that when I was young, you know? Because I was good in math and I was good in English. I was like, well, maybe I'll be like a math teacher. You know?
Really? So teaching was already up there as a young boy.
Ish, yeah.
Ish.
and well, you know, when you're that young, you don't really know. You know, you're guessing stuff. And what I knew back then was school. You know, that's what I was doing. You know, like a lot of guys who were from like 12 to like 16. You know, when we were in high school. You know, so that was my life back then. Well, actually, when drums came in, that changed a lot of stuff because when I started playing drums. It took a big like chunk of my life, you know, for the good. You know,
was it long after your drumming, or was it short after your drumming that you knew that you were going to be a drum teacher?
What happened actually is that when I got to Montreal to study drums at the University de Montréal, a friend of mine actually offered me a teaching job in the school, in the music school actually, on the south shore of Montreal.
Okay.
In Chambly, actually, at EMF Music.
EMF Music?
Yeah, in Chambly.
Okay.
Yeah. I used to teach there. So it was a great source. Still, they're still there nowadays. So if you want to go take a look, if you're in the Chambly area, go take a look. So I taught there for about I think for 11 years. Huh?
Nice.
So and that was pretty much how I made my living back then. You know, I was playing gigs here and there and stuff, but that was like a big chunk of what I used to do, and it still is. So from that experience, I just built like my teaching like qualities and teaching like chops, if you will.
Yeah, teaching your chops.
Yeah. So you know, so that's how I got started, you know? and I had like a pretty good like deal of success in the sense that I was seeing like, some of my students really getting really good, and I liked it, and people kept coming at me for like lessons and stuff. So I just like kept doing it a lot. I mean, I still play in bands, obviously, and still like play gigs around there.
Sure, yeah.
But that was something that felt kind of easy for me, you know, and I felt I was like I was comfortable with it, and I was good at it. You know? Mm-hmm. At some point, you have to actually love what you do, and you have to be okay to say, okay, I'm good with that, so let's do it.
Yeah, so, it's there. It must feel really nice, though, also when you teach something to someone and then they're responding and they're actually learning from you.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Must feel
it's cool.
nice
Very
inside.
Cool. I have a student like I taught this kid like when he was like I'm guessing like maybe 10 or 11 till he was about 16.
Okay.
And then he got in school and stuff, and he just got accepted at the Berklee School of Music. You know, in Boston. It's crazy. You know, he just told me
he wouldn't. I started him.
Yeah, well, I remember he was like maybe like that high, came to me and played stuff. He was already really good. You know, so and he told me that story like fairly recently. He told me he wouldn't go to Berklee, but he got accepted, so that's pretty amazing.
So you're gonna always be remembered by him, that's for sure.
Oh, for you, I guess so.
Also, I want to also know, what would you consider the most important aspect of a teacher? Like, what is the most important thing to be a good drum teacher?
Well,
what is it that it takes?
Well, you have to be sensitive to your students' needs, and I think that's one of the biggest mistakes that I see. Is that some people come in with a specific curriculum and they say, "Okay, you're coming study with me. That's what you'll do, no matter where they are at, you know, no matter what they want, you know." And that I think is a big mistake, because some guys want to be really serious about it and they want to do like the whole thing, like studying hand technique, jazz things, Latin stuff, whatever, which is all good. And some of the guys just want to play like covers of like Weezer or like Black Sabbath or whatever.
Yeah, every individual.
Okay, yeah.
Every individual has their own needs and what they want as an outcome as a drummer.
Yeah, and if you want to have some success, you have to be sensitive to that, because if your student isn't like, it doesn't feel like fulfilled by the lessons, he'll probably go away.
Yeah, he'll leave and you'll failed to respond to what this person needed.
So every time I got somebody new, I always try to see what's their specific needs, and I always also try to see, okay, what are they weak at, and what's their weakest like aspect, if you will, and I'll try to focus on that and really work on that, so that this way they actually like improve. You know?
They feel like they've developed something. Yeah. They're getting something out of their lessons.
You don't want to only play like the stuff that they're good at. It's okay to do that, you know, but you also want to like show them some new stuff. And
you're not learning. Yeah. Well, you're practicing.
Yeah.
When you're doing the same thing over and over again.
Exactly.
You're practicing, but you need new stuff to come.
So being sensitive, I'd say, like being sensitive to your students' needs, I'd say it would be like the one of the biggest like things to consider, which I think a lot of guys might not think about sometimes.
Yeah.
I hear stories sometimes about.
Yeah.
So
horror stories sometimes.
Maybe so. Maybe so.
Well, speaking of you being a teacher and all, do you think you could teach my viewers something maybe that they could learn? I'll just go get. You want to get it?
I'll go.
Oh, see, he's going to get it. I won't have to cross over in front of you. So if we could just be sure we have a nice. You can see well. Okay, Daniel, take it away.
Yeah, well, I'll talk about one thing that I see, one big problem. Actually, a lot of guys come to me and ask me about like hand technique, because they're stuck at some point with their hand, where they cannot play like they cannot roll, or they feel tense or something. And I'd say that the biggest mistake that I see is a lot of guys actually tend to dig in their drums, actually like playing strokes and like almost like digging in the pad or like the drums or something, or whatever they play, the cymbals or whatever. You know? So I'd say if you want to try something to actually get rid of tension, try to explore that little stroke. Okay? What you see here, this is the actually to me, how I teach that, I say that this is the basis of like what I call, what is known as the free stroke. So some guys like Dom Famularo talk about that quite a lot. And the biggest thing here is just to get rid of tension and just to release the energy from the rebound. Because you want to play and then let the stick fly back and just to explore that, So that would be one thing to try. You might see that when I do that, my stick is actually flipping over like this axis of like middle finger and thumb. So you could actually explore that and just try to let the stick go. So that would be one thing to actually explore, which you might do like this if you ever try to grip.
You make it look easy. I had the privilege to take a few lessons with Daniel, and we worked on this, and it's not an easy thing when you're starting out.
It's simple.
It flies everywhere. I mean, the stick goes flying sometimes.
That's a simple thing that is hard. Sometimes we work on simple stuff, but we really try to get them at a high level. So that would be one thing. And the idea here is just to let the stick go. A lot of guys will fight, like I was saying, like they will fight their strokes or something. Yeah. But if you want to actually be able to be
more fluid
and loose and build on that, well, you actually have to get rid of tension.
Yeah, I'm guessing your arm is working less, so there's right. Well, it's more of a wrist thing. Right?
Yeah, well, wrist and rebound and just letting the stick do its thing.
Yeah, using the materials to get the most out of your drum set.
Well, the thing is that, for example, you play a stroke like this, you don't need a lot of energy for that. Just pretty much throw it like on the pad, and then it flies back. It shouldn't be like.
Yeah, you're not feeling your shoulders. You're not feeling anything.
This is light. This isn't like very heavy. And even though that's a big stick, this is the dumb pad stick.
The pad sticks. Yeah, I have those. Yeah.
So it's fairly big for a stick, but still it's fairly light, obviously. Compared to like.
So would you suggest that is the best kind, like
to practice this?
Yeah. So you
whatever
can't use
you have in
normal...
your hands, and whatever sticks you might have in hands will work because they all have like a certain weight,
Yeah.
And that weight will actually work with you. But the thing is that really just get like comfortable at letting the stick fly back, And once you're comfortable with doing this, you can actually just try to let your whole hand actually fly back instead of just having the stick like this. You can try doing this and letting the stick fly back, and this would be like the starting point of what I call like a tension-free drumming.
You had mentioned also, I remember, and I play in the. It's good to play in the mirror, by the way.
Totally.
I remember you mentioning something. I'll borrow your 60 seconds. That when you're playing it, that you're not supposed to see your palms in the mirror. That you're supposed to have.
See the knuckles. I think this comes.
So
I think that
the difference. Because I was doing it and I was practicing it,
well,
and going, we're seeing the palm of your hand. So
this comes from, if I'm not mistaken, from Jim Chapin. And Jim would tell his students that he wanted to see, or actually they were sitting in front of him, and Jim wanted to see like the knuckles in his students' hands. He didn't want to see the inside of your hands. And the reason for that is that when you show the inside of your hands like this, well, your wrist is kind of bent already before actually you even do a stroke. Whereas if you go like this, well, you have like your hand is like parallel or to
it's
your.
It's just natural and it's natural.
It's much more natural like this, and it's much stronger. It's really easy actually to me to play strokes like.
Yeah, we know it's easy for you. I watch you play. It's like, oh God, that's easy.
But that's something to explore, and that like the mirror thing, which you mentioned a bit before. Will tell you if you're like this or if you're like this.
By the way, folks, that has helped me a lot when we're playing live, and seriously, it gives better. You get more sound also out of it.
Yeah, well, if you let the stick do its work and you let the rebound work, you'll get much more sound too, like just out of the pad, like compared to this.
For sure, definitely.
And one thing I like to show sometimes is this, like when you hold sticks tight and then you do this, you get a better sound.
The resonation, you hear it resonate. Yeah,
and I haven't touched the drum yet, and I get a better sound already. So that would be like the first starting point of like a technical thing, you know, a technical exercise to work on. From there, you can actually build like your whole drumming, I'd say. You know? So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for teaching us something new today.
Yeah, well, you're welcome.
For those who didn't know about this, who haven't been using the free stroke, it's called the free stroke. Want to know, how do we reach this guy? What do we do?
Well, there are a few ways. You can actually send me an email like via Daniel Bédard 27 at gmail.com.
Okay.
That can work. Or you can also like reach me via my website at danielbedarddrums.com. Or on the Facebook page, which is Daniel Bédard Drums, and just type that when you're in the search box.
Okay.
Take a look at the page on Facebook. I share a lot of like drummer videos that I love, some videos for myself and some videos from friends of mine. Just a bunch of various clips which I find interesting, and I want people to see those and just get inspired by like various stuff, like whether it's like a jazz guy, or like a rock guy, or and technique guy, whatever.
Yeah, this guy's he really loves the drums, by the way. Seriously, he sent me a list of drummers of names because I don't know all the drummers and all the names, and he just knows everyone who knows. You know, he just knows everyone. So
well, I love drumming. I love music.
He's a good guy to have around, and he's a very good teacher. I really appreciate his teachings. So I want to thank you.
Well,
thank you so much
for
being here and for showing us some stuff and for telling us your stories. Guys, do not leave, because Daniel has agreed, yeah, because it was really hard for me to convince him to play the drums for us, right? So Daniel, if you can just set up here, and he's going to play a little something for us. And I will see you guys before. Don't forget to subscribe, you know, all that jazz. Subscribe, comment, you know, all that jazz. And stick around. He's going to play for us. I will see you guys in another 2 weeks for another episode of DSN. Love you guys. Bye.